What's up, Blog Tribe? In today's video, I am going to teach you how to use Descript. Descript, however you want to say it. I'm going to show you everything in here, start to finish. It's going to be awesome. I love this program. Let's go. First, the overview. What is Descript? Descript is a digital audio workstation of sorts, podcast editing, video editing, and also transcription of audio. But here's the thing. It is very unique in the sense that you actually edit audio and you edit video via editing text. I'll show you how to do this and how to edit like a normal audio program or a video editing program in a second. But you can also go through your text transcription and edit it, and it transfers all those edits to the audio and video. It's like you're editing a blog post or something, but you're also editing audio while you do it. That is what makes Descript special. One last thing before I jump into the actual tutorial is that is overdub. It's kind of like you talk into Descript for a little while, it learns your voice, and then you can just start typing, and it's like you talking. It's like machine learning, AI craziness that you can use to correct audio in a podcast or something like that. And they also have some screen recording, some special video editing stuff as well. Let's hop on over and I'll show you around. First up, the tour. So you can actually use a lot of Descript's features in the browser, which is actually amazing. But of course, they do have a separate app, which I prefer to use for Mac and Windows too, I believe. That's what you're looking at right here. So let's talk about the breakdown of where stuff is organized. First and foremost, projects are kind of like the top level things. You can see I have a couple of projects in here. This one is my podcast interviews. If I click over here in projects, they call different, nested projects within projects compositions. That's actually kind of important to know. That's actually it. Everything else is a little bit easier. Let me give you a tour around the projects dashboard and then we'll go through that. So obviously you can create a new project right here. You can also create folders with different projects in it. And this is a recent update. You can actually see some of the audiograms you created for podcasts and separate audio and video stuff in here. That's actually really neat. They just added that. You can also access overdub where you will train your voice. I'll cover that in the next video in this series. And Descript is actually really great at collaborating with team members and editors and lots of great collaboration tools. You can see the ones that are created by you, shared with you by somebody else, and that sort of stuff. And you can also see the project's status as being saved. Descript actually saves all of your audio and your projects and your settings and stuff to the cloud, and you can see that status right here when you upload new stuff. Okay, so let's go into a project. I'm just going to create a new one just for the sake of this video. I'm gonna call it Miles because I'm gonna edit this podcast interview with Miles Beckler right here. So it already automatically opened up a blank composition. This button right here is where you will see all of your media files, video, audio, whatever. I actually want to come back to this in just a second. You can sort by date added, etc., etc. You can also go back to projects like this. This is where you will see the text transcription once we start adding audio. Obviously, this is a audio timeline. You can zoom in, zoom out. I'll show you that in a second as well. And this is like your sidebar where you'll see effects for different tracks, different clips, that sort of stuff. You can also add comments via this little button right here to different parts of the audio. I'm gonna go back to my track inspector. That's what that button is. Probably most important, this is where you can see keyboard shortcuts. There's a little button down there. I'll show you some more tips in just a second. So that was all the boring stuff. Let's jump into editing, the exciting stuff. What I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna grab two files. This is an interview, me interviewing my friend Miles. You can drag and drop directly into a composition, by the way, but I'm actually gonna go to this media section and just add a few different files. You can see I'm just gonna drag those two files in there. You don't even have to do them together, but you can. What you're gonna see right here is the option to transcribe two files, create multi-track sequence. We're gonna talk about sequences in a second, and then a few more options that I'm not gonna go into actually. I'm gonna hit transcribe two files. It's gonna detect that, hey, this looks like an interview. These files are like the same length. Do you want to create a sequence? I'm gonna hit yes, and then I'm gonna tell you what a sequence is. By the way, you can actually change the speaker names right here. You can also change speaker names later. I'm gonna put Miles Beckler, and then I'm gonna put Pete. You can also do things a little bit more manually. You can import a transcript if you already have one. I've never done anything like that. I'm gonna do it automatically, and then I'm gonna hit transcribe. This is gonna take like 5, maybe even up to 10 minutes, depending on how long the interview is. Obviously, I'm not gonna make you sit and wait that long, but I'm gonna use this to tell you what sequences are. Sequences are two files created as one. For example, an interview. Once you see this thing come through, you can already see the audio down here at the bottom. This is going to be a sequence. It's going to take these two audio files, Miles and then me, and it's going to combine them together so I can edit them at the same time. I'll show you what this looks like in just a second. You can also do some things separately, by the way. I'll show you that as well. Let me show you something. You can actually click up here. Remember where the save stuff was, the save information? You click right up here and you can actually see how it is processing. It's uploading these, it's optimizing some of the media that'll make it way easier to edit. It's also, keeping the original over here, showing upload process and your transcription process. One other thing I'll show you really quick. So I have some segues, like sound effects. I'm gonna go ahead and drop these in here as well. And let's go ahead and get, I think I have, yep, there is my intro. I'm gonna go ahead and drop that in here as well. So this can be a multi-track editor, meaning I have one timeline, I have one layer, I have another file on top of it, like a voiceover, like sound effects, like background music, those sorts of things. A multi-track editor, just like Audacity, Logic Pro, Final Cut Pro for video, and stuff like that. Descript absolutely does that, and I'll show you how it works in just a second. We are now done. Process 100%. Everything is saved. We'll start off talking about how to edit via the text editor. Then we're going to talk about timeline. Then we're going to talk about how to see those different files in the sequence. Remember when I said this is now a sequence down here? This is actually 2 tracks. You can see Miles talking is kind of orange, and then I am more pink. And then I can just zoom out. I'm using my mouse right now. You can actually click and drag to highlight this. You could also click up here to do all this. So let's say we wanted to take out this word right here, like. You just told me off air, like. I'm gonna double click this word, hit delete, and it deleted it from the transcript. It also deleted it from there. Let's watch that again. See how it automatically highlighted it when I double click this word? Like. I'm gonna hit delete on my keyboard and then it just deleted it. Isn't that cool? That right there is the basic uniqueness of Descript, the ability to go through here, select this, and you can see it's also selecting stuff down here on the audio timeline, and delete. And you can edit the media. You can also not edit the media, by the way. You see I'm editing media right here. This little drop down will allow me to just change the text. Like, let's say that's it's supposed to be you are, like spelled a different way. You can go to correct text. Everything's gonna turn a little bit green. There's a green outline now around the thing. And I can change this to your, with a hyphen in there, you are. And then I'm gonna go back to editing media. There we go. So that didn't actually change the audio. I think that's actually pretty self-explanatory, but I wanna draw your attention to 2 insanely cool features. So listen up. This is like the best part of Descript, period. Filler words, first of all. There's an let's listen to it actually.
And from that I realized businesses and real estate are like...
Okay, so you can see it's actually going fast. You could change your playback speed right there. I'm gonna go back to 1. You could also make it pause while you're typing and while you're editing. Patient playback, you can do that automatically. Let's listen to this.
I realized businesses and real estate are like...
Okay.
Business.
So that's the perfect to take out right here. I could take it out in here in the audio, which I could show you in a second, but you could also just double click and delete that filler word, or you could right click and access delete filler words or remove filler words. So this will bring up a little side panel right here that's going to automatically detect all of the filler words. It depends on what plan you're on, by the way. The cheaper plan can only detect, I think, ums and uhs. But the Pro plan, which I'm using because I'm fancy like that, can also detect other filler words like right, like, all those sorts of things. What you could do is, well, first of all, you can actually just one click, remove all of them, which is insane when you think about it. You could also go through here and spot check them. You can actually hit this button right here, spot audition. When I play these,
of a very low point, I lost a clip and depot on kind of, and I did inside say.
So you can click here, you can listen through those.
Stream of.
You can also stop that. By the way, I'm pressing tab to start and stop audio when I'm playing
I'm
here.
interrupt you, sorry.
It's not spacebar. It took me a while to figure that out, but it's actually tab. Spacebar will actually enter in a space if you were like editing the text here. So I'm gonna right click, go back to filler words, or actually you can access that up here too. Remove filler words, there we go. It's gonna highlight all of them. I'm just gonna hit apply all, and let's just see what happens here. By the way, you can also choose to delete the actual audio or ignore it in the transcript. Or you could, I mean, it deletes it from the transcript, but ignores it from the actual audio. I want to actually delete it from the audio and the transcript at the same time. And I think I'm just going to do all of these. By the way, if you didn't want to do that, you could just type in which ones you want. Like select all. I'm not going to do but, you know, I guess, I mean, I suppose, kind of, like, or something, right? So I'm just going to do the uhs and ums, actually. You see repeated words, you know what I mean? You know. Well, I'm just going to do and because those are by far the easiest and the most prevalent, right? Oh, I got rid of it. Let's go back here. Remove filler words. There we go. There's all my uhs and ums. There's still a lot of them. Apply to all. What you're going to see is they're going to disappear from the transcript, and they're also going to disappear from the audio. And you can see the little mark on the screen right here. There's a little dash line looking thingy. That actually shows you where edits have been made. So as you're going through here, you can see like, oh, there used to be an there. There used to be an there. And the cool thing about Descript is, of course, it's non-destructive editing, meaning if I zoom out, you're going to see it's taken out a bunch. You can see these little cuts in here. It's taken out some filler words and stuff. You can actually go in here and bring it back if you want to. Not a big deal at all. So let's just play and see what happens.
There, some of the attempts I had, I tried playing professional poker.
Okay. It generally works pretty well. There might be some tricky spots. Again, I don't recommend just leaving it as this. I recommend actually listening to it and making sure it did a good job. But 9 times out of 10 for me and my audio, it works just fine.
You even blah? But now I want to make more.
There used to be a big there.
Blah? But now I want to make more money.
Okay, there you go. One of the cool thing is shortening silences. And this is actually a new feature. If you have like a break, if you guys took like a break, or if there was like a 5-second pause, you can actually go in here, the same little tool, shorten word gaps. I don't recommend doing this for like a second or less. That would make it like super choppy. Longer than 1 second, you can also do, like, let's do longer than 2 seconds. Like just the big gaps in the audio. There's only one of them. And that actually looks like it's the end of the podcast. Yeah, it's actually just the end of the podcast. You can shorten it to 1 second. You could come in here and try 1 second. There you go. It brings up all the silences. And of course you can see where it is right here. You can check it. You don't have to do all at the same time. You'd be like, yep, that's actually a big space. I'm gonna hit apply and it shortened that word gap. Here is another one. I'm gonna shorten to 1 second. Yeah, that's good. Apply. That's pretty cool, right? So let's actually go in here and listen to what that just did.
And just listen to them on repeat.
Cool.
He has one, I don't remember. Oh, it was.
So there used to be like a second longer pause in there. It's just making things a little bit tighter. So that is actually the basics. You can actually change the speaker names, by the way, by coming in here. That's actually the basics of editing via audio. Now let's talk about editing via this timeline right here. So the first thing I want to do, you can zoom in, you can zoom out. We talked about removing silences. The first thing I really want to talk about is this. You can actually just drag these words back and forth to move them. For example, you see this gap right here? Let's say I didn't want that to be there and I wanted to tighten it up. I can just grab this, move it over a little bit. But the same thing, you can actually add more space. Let's go somewhere else in the chat. Scroll down right here. You can click in here. Another handy tip is if you option click, I'm not sure what it is on Windows, you can look it up. It'll actually play from wherever you click. So I'm just clicking right now normally and it's moving the cursor around to that part in the audio, but if you option click, it'll just play.
There's a reason Zig Ziglar is Zig Ziglar, and that's because he's so good at his like.
There we go. So again, you can, it's pretty self-explanatory for selecting. Like I can click and select this. I can hit delete and you can see it automatically slides everything over this way. You can, we already talked about sliding, like you can grab words and slide that over. I found that very handy. Just go through here, tightening up some of the silences, or if you see like a bunch of coughing or something, you can come in here, select it, remove it, or you don't even have to select it. If there was coughing right here, which there's not, by the way, but let's say there was a big cough right there, I can just come in here and drag this over the cough, and now it's done. So, staying on this line of thought right here, let's say that's not a very smooth edit. You can see there might be a little bit of noise right there. Crossfade. Boom. I love that. That's like one of my favorite things. Automatic crossfade, or not automatic, but really easy, simple crossfades you can do that way. One more thing I want to mention is right-clicking, open up a bunch of options. You can add volume keyframes individually like this, or if you hold down, I think it's Option or Command, and just start like typing in here. I'm actually going to split this clip. I added a split marker right there, and let's say I'm going to split it right here. You can, I think it's option click, you can add audio keyframes. There you go, just like that. You can see the audio line going up and down really, really quickly and easily. I love that. That's one of my favorite things ever. You can also drag from the corners of the audio. This reminds me of Final Cut Pro and Logic Pro. If you wanted to shorten this that way, and you didn't, like, instead of dragging this word over, which you could do, you can also grab this and just pull that over. You can tighten it up that way, pull that over. And by the way, you can do the opposite. It's non-destructive editing. If you did something you didn't want to do, you can undo it, non-destructive. Really, 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 really cool and powerful. So let's add in let's go back up to the very top. I'm actually just gonna go up here like this. I'm gonna click right here. It's gonna move my cursor all the way up to the top. So let's drag this over. I get rid of that intro right there. Silence, that is. And then I'm gonna actually put in my sonic branding, this clip right here. There's a few different ways you could do this. I'm gonna click this to expand the sidebar just so it stays up for a second. I am going to click this and drag up here. You can see it's going to create a new track down here in my timeline. It just did. I can also move it from here. You can also click and drag here to add it, by the way, but you can also do this. And it gives you a little icon of where it's at. You can see when I dragged it over here, that icon is going to move. If I drag it right, that is. Oh, I've already screwed up. I did something bad. I messed up here. There we go. Sorry, I accidentally turned it off. You can see there's a very fine line between like editing the actual thing and the moving the track button. Like you could make this bigger, by the way. You could do that and make it a lot easier. Mine was just like really small. Let's actually leave it like this for a second. When I move this over, I grab the top part and move it over, you can see the icon moves. That's what I was gonna show you. And the same sort of stuff applies here. You can have a fade in. You can do a little crossfade in between these clips. Oops, I clicked the wrong one. Well, it doesn't matter. You can do it like that. Crossfade, you can actually go in here, double click if you want to move this, to actually select the clip. Like you could click in here and it's actually just moving the cursor, but you can double click any of these to actually select the clip. That's worth noting as well. And that's pretty cool. You can actually just drag this, by the way. It's amazing. You just drag it where you want it in the text. Same thing with sound effects. Let's say I wanted a segue right here before we start talking. First of all, I would probably insert a bit of silence, which you can actually go up here and do. Oh, by the way, this is called the conductor. This is actually a pro tip. Command K or Control K if you're on Windows brings up this menu, and it's a typable, searchable thing. Like, let's say I can't remember how to get to overdub. I would hit Command K, overdub, insert overdub, and it'll actually show you that shortcut. Like, Pete, you forgot. Command D going forward. Or let's say you wanted to insert silence. Silence. Oh, maybe not. Insert, there we go. Insert marker, insert inline note, speaker label, title, fancy captions. That's mostly stuff for video. Okay, maybe not. Well, you can also just right click down here and do insert gap clip. There you go. Now there's silence. There you go.
Your childhood.
So let's say I want to do that and put my intro right there. I can just click and drag and drop on here. Good to go, right? Super cool. So I'm actually going to undo that and then undo this space in here. There we go. Okay, so that's pretty much all you need to know about editing via this. There are some other features which I did not go over, which you'll have to discover in your own time because I don't actually add them a whole lot. To be honest with you. Cues are mostly for video stuff. You can also show the clip properties. We're going to go over this in just a second, but that's the basics of editing via this audio timeline. Now, sequences, as we mentioned, are actually 2 audio files. What if you want to edit just one? Like, let's say I'm talking right here and Miles is coughing in the background, which he's not. Or maybe there's some...
Totally. Well, and it does start at childhood. Like, I grew up.
Okay, well, let's say I was coughing all throughout this. Miles is over here talking, but I'm coughing in the background. How do I edit that out? Well, my friends, you can do Command K, or you could go down here to your keyboard shortcuts just to remind you. There we go. And it's actually, something O. Command Shift O, edit sequence. There we go. For me, it's Command Shift O, edit sequence. And you can also find that via Command K, of course, the conductor. Edit sequence? Oh, no. Okay, maybe not. I'm just gonna hit Command Shift O. There we go. So that actually brings up the multi-track editor. And now, like, let's say this is a little cough right here while Miles is talking. I'll just hit that out. There we go. And so I can press escape to exit this, by the way. We'll come back and talk about effects and stuff in just a second. But that's how you edit the individual files within a sequence. One thing I kind of glossed over, which I want to come back to now, is let's say I wanted to just make this my entire digital audio workstation and record my intro right here. Like literally voiceover right now. I would come in here, I would hit a few things. You can do this from a bunch of different ways actually. But I think the easiest way is to hit this button, record. You can also insert, right click and insert, I think, no, maybe not, down here. I don't remember. I just like to hit this. I think you can also, yeah, via the conductor, voice file, audio recording, that sort of stuff. But the easiest button is just hit the record button up here, right? Also, when you are listening, you can go back and forward 5 seconds. I don't know what these shortcuts are. I never use them. Obviously, tab plays. You can speed up the playback speed, which is really handy if you're going through like longer episodes or whatnot.
Just told me off air. Wow, we have a lot of stuff going on, like several brands.
Yep. But let's go back to the recording thing. So let's say I wanted to go in here and record my audio intro. I hit this. You could choose your track that you're going to record to. You can also click this button to access the settings. Like I'm going to use my built-in microphone. No. I want to use my good microphone. And you can also set it to automatically transcribe each recording or not. If you want the transcription, great. If you don't, then uncheck it. And it's actually going to do it while you talk, which is absolutely amazing. By the way, if you're recording like 2 people, you can actually click this plus sign button over here and add in computer audio. If you're recording from Zoom or Skype or something like that, you could do it to another track. You could get super fancy with this. I don't use this to record my interviews, but you could, which is really interesting. I'm actually going to delete those. There you go. You can add multiple inputs. That's the point. Oh, you can see my levels coming in here. I'm going to hit record right here and just see what happens. This might be funky because I'm recording this YouTube video, but we'll see. Hello, what's up everybody? Welcome to the Do You Even Blog podcast, where my guest today is the one and the only Miles Beckler from milesbeckler.com. He has an amazing YouTube channel. And I'm going to hit stop. All right, so you can see I added this on here. It's transcribing right now. It's kind of saving. Let's listen back to that. Hello, what's up everybody? Welcome to the Do You Even Blog podcast. Okay, you can tell I'm not using my podcasting mic for that. Anyway, so you can do that. You can edit as normal, and you can insert that anywhere, really. And you can actually, can you drag this up? I think there's a thing to make a new track out of that. I don't actually remember what it is, to be completely honest with you. I'm going to double click this clip right here, hit delete, because I don't know why that happened. Drag out here for my silence. I'm just going to grab Miles talking and move it in here, and there is my intro. So let's talk about effects. There's a few things to note here. Of course, this is a multi-track editor. You can edit effects, add effects for the entire composition. This is kind of like a master level track, right? If you want to add, you can increase the gain, decrease the gain, or volume. You can add a compressor and an equalizer. These are the only two that are built in to Descript at the moment. I have it on good authority that they might be adding support for third-party plugins, VSTs, AU. Oh my gosh, it's going to be completely transformative once they actually add that. But for now, compressor and equalization and just overall volume is pretty much all you have. So you can add that to the master track via the entire composition right here. And you can also see I got 2 tracks right here. I got my like sound effects track. If I added more, I'm just gonna like drag this on here, by the way. Let's add another track. So now I got 3 tracks. Oh, well, it added it to that one. Well, there is a way to add a separate track. I don't actually remember how to do it, and then drag that up there, but alas. Anyways, you'll see all your tracks right here. Oh, it did. It just squished it down to 1. I see. Yeah, so you can add effects right here. For this one, you can also click anywhere to kind of get out of that and go back to your master track. Here is my script. This is the main like interview I have right here. And you can do a few different things there. Like if I go over here, I can add effects to this entire script. Like I could just do a compressor like the entire track or whatnot. Or of course, as we talked about earlier, you can go into the sequence view. And let's say I wanted to equalize just Miles's voice, which you probably should do separate, right? I could do it there. And if I want to do a compression, I could do it there. Now, one thing you might notice is that we are roughly the same volume, Miles and I. You can see it via the waveforms right here and in the sequence. That is because Descript does have the option, for me, I have it enabled, to automatically normalize on import. You can actually go to Descript preferences. You'll see it right here. Enable auto leveling. So you can turn this off and then it won't do this at all, but I actually like this. It auto levels everything to minus 16 dB loudness, which if you're into podcasting, you know that's roughly what the LUFS should be, minus 16 for mono clips, right? Of course, you can turn it off. It can be overridden in each project settings. I'm actually not even sure where to do that, the project setting. But anyways, so I always leave that enabled right there. That's pretty cool. It automatically leveled everything to be roughly the same volume. So you do like a little bit of compression and EQ, and if you don't have a lot of noise reduction, you could just use this as your podcast editor, export it from here, and it's almost ready for upload. Like, it's pretty close. Did I miss anything over here? Clip properties. When we talk about adding video, it's going to be a lot different because there's a lot of different stuff you can do over here in this inspector. We talk about cues, we talk about animations to, titles and thumbnails and clips and stuff like that. But for the most part, this is where you'll edit your different tracks. Again, you could also mute and solo the tracks. That's mute, that's solo. Obviously, this is where you add the compressor. Let's add a compressor right here. You can set the threshold, play around with how strong you want the compressor, obviously. And if you hit play, let's zoom over here to where Miles is talking for a second.
Rich kids, and my parents rented, and I just knew as a very young age
you can see the input right here.
Was something I had to figure out, and that.
Sorry, let me stop. You can see the input, and you can actually see how much it's reducing right there. If you don't know what a compressor is, go YouTube it. Same thing with setting EQs. I'm not going to go over that in this video, but you can also do it right there. Multi-band equalizer, pretty handy, right? I'm actually going to back out of this, and the last thing I really want to go through is exporting and sharing or whatnot. And there's actually a lot here. So let's say I was done with this track. There's a bunch of different things I could do with it. Let's go up to the share menu right here. First of all, I could share this as a standalone thing, whether a separate web page or I can embed it in a blog post where people can literally play it. It's actually under publish, by the way. I can show it to you. Publish to a new page. I could call this Miles and Pete. You could also publish just a selection. Like if you wanted to highlight a very special part of the interview or your podcast episode, or just do the whole thing. I don't have anything selected, which is why this is grayed out right now. Audio, there's no video for this at the moment. This will actually just publish it to the internet. That's actually pretty cool. With or without transcripts, and it'll just give you a URL. You can share it right there. You can also embed it in a blog post on your website or stuff like that. Pretty handy. So let me go back for a second. We're gonna talk about exporting in just a second. Let's say I wanted to do an audiogram. I could just do like the first 60 seconds. I'm gonna come down here and select this. If you see to the bottom right over here where my mouse is right now, it's actually telling you how long your selection is. That's 37 seconds. So if I come down here, I know I have like up to 60 seconds on Instagram. We'll say I was doing that. So I'm gonna get like 57 seconds right there. This is just an example. So that's 57, 58 seconds right there. Go back to share and publish. And then now I can do an audiogram where you can actually upload a background image, which I don't have available right here. So I'm not gonna do that. You can do the Descript badge up in the right corner. I have my logo up here. You could also do none, just to take it away. Of course, you can change around the colors. You have full control over that. I'm gonna make it this green color. That's the green of my brand right now. You can show the speaker label up here at the top or not. You can also show the title of the composition or not, which mine's a big funky name right there, so I wouldn't do that. That's pretty cool. And you can also change the different shape and templates. There's a lighter version, a dark version. Oh, I like that. I've always liked that version. This one's really cool too. I like those. Showing the actual transcript. That's cool. Different templates there you can use, different shapes. And then you hit publish and it'll give you a URL. And once it does that, by the way, you'll have to actually right click to download it if you want to download it to your computer, just so you know. I'm not going to actually go through that right now. If you hit publish right here on the audiogram, this will also show up in your Descript dashboard. You go back to your dashboard right here. This shows me all my projects. It's not going to show it right now because I didn't actually hit publish, but you can see former audiograms right there. And if I actually click on this, it should open up in a browser. Yep. So this is what it's going to look like. You can right click to download, I believe. You can also just share the link. Oh, there's a download button. You can also click to get and embed HTML as well. It's actually pretty handy. All right, let's go back to exporting now. Where are my projects? Projects. Miles. It's going to open this, by the way. And by the way, you can have multiple compositions in one project. For example, I didn't talk about this earlier, but I have one for all my interviews because I use the same intro, the same background music, the same segues for each show. I like to have those right here in the side panel in my audio files. You can click your media library right here. My sonic branding, my show intro. I like to have these accessible where I can just drag and drop in whatever composition I'm working on. So you can have multiple compositions per project. That's all I wanted to say. All right, so let's go back to the export thing. Project access is when you can invite collaborators or other editors or whatnot. You can also share this to the web, like the actual edit file, not the end audio or whatnot, but the actual project itself. You can share that via web and edit it there. Publish, I think we kind of hit everything here. Export, all right. So obviously subtitles. People might use Descript for just transcription, which would be great. That's a great tool for transcription. You can update the, export this as an SRT file or a VTT file. Excuse me. You can include speaker names. You can do maximum lines per card, 1 line per card, 2 lines per card, that sort of stuff. If you've worked with subtitles and put subtitles over video, you know what I'm talking about here. I always do SRT most of the time. Let's go back. You can also just export the text as in a Word doc. If you wanted to like upload this to somebody for download, or if you wanted to print it to a PDF, the transcript, you could do it that way. You could also do a rich text format, and there's some options in here to include timestamps. You can include timestamps at speaker labels, as in every time a different person starts talking, it'll put timestamp. Just markers, you can also insert markers through your text. Also paragraph breaks, also 60-second intervals, which is interesting. I don't know why anybody do that, but you could. Excuse me. And of course, you can edit or export just the audio. Current composition. You can also do a selection if I were selecting anything. I don't have anything selected, but you could do it that way. You could also do certain markers. All compositions, you could do this in bulk if you had multiple. I don't know why we really need to do that, but you could. WAV format, MP3, of course. Also, M4A. It's interesting. I've never done that personally, but you could use it for that. MP3 is obviously publish worthy. Uncompressed would be the WAV file right here. Audio sample rate, you can also choose to normalize or not normalize, which is actually really cool. You could choose off if you just wanted to export it like this. Or you could choose to go to -16 LUFS, normalize, and then you're good for publishing, right? Or -18 or whatever you got going on. Sample rate. Excuse me, I got stuff in my throat. Where'd I go here? There we go. All right, so that's how you export the actual file. One cool thing is you can actually export this project for other digital audio workstations. Like for me, I use Logic. Excuse me, I'm sorry. So I clicked export to Logic, and you can actually change that. Final Cut Pro, Premiere, Pro Tools, Audition. It doesn't do it for Audacity, by the way. It's like the one thing it doesn't really do. I think you can use a Reaper file for Audacity. I'm actually not positive. You'll have to double check me on that. You can create a separate track for each file. I don't recommend doing this. All the different clips I made down here, that would do different tracks for each of those. I wouldn't do that personally. And there's some different settings for each of these depending on what you are exporting to. Audition, include media files, etc. Then you'll export, and it'll give you a Audition file. .sesx, or it'll give you a Logic file, which is actually a little bit different, because it's actually a Pro Tools file, AAF, but it also works with Logic Pro. That's pretty cool. And so this is actually what I do. I come through here and edit my podcast this way. I don't do voiceovers here. I don't do sound effects. I don't do background music. I do all that in Logic Pro. So I just come here, edit the actual interview in Descript, remove filler words, move stuff around, assemble the clips or whatnot, and then I export to Logic Pro and then do the rest of it like that. That's actually super handy. One last thing I forgot to include earlier. You can also edit the volumes for different clips. Like I double clicked it. You can actually just click in here. It'll show you the clip properties, and you can adjust volume up and down or whatnot. Same thing if you double click, it should just do that. It'll also show you the track properties, this entire script track. You can edit things that way. So that, my friends, is the proverbial it. So I am going to be talking about overdub in the next video, and I'll hopefully make a Descript video editing video as well. Please hashtag YouTube, hashtag like, comment, subscribe, or whatnot. Go watch those other videos about overdub and Let me know if you have any questions in the comments. I love you guys. Have a great day. Adios.